Here's a little bit of motivation for you. It's okay to think you're better than some people. In fact, you should think you're better than some people. Have you heard some of these motherfuckers talking, the way that they walk around and say shit? Oh my God, the bar for humanity is so goddamn low.
Hey, fun fans, we're back. And better than ever, we got a knack for making things better. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Farlow. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hi, everyone. Were you singing Eric Bischoff's entrance music?
I was. That was Eric Bischoff's WWE entrance theme. I also didn't even say the name of the podcast. That's what 1 week away from this podcast will do to me.
Sure.
This is We Enjoy. We are wrapping up our Spider-Man marathon this week with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is a nice chunky 2 hours and 20 minutes of Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone making eyes at each other in the movie and IRL. A movie that I did not dislike as much as I did the first time I saw it. And I think Eric and I have both mentioned this on the podcast that I know I did, that I've only seen this once in the theater when it came out in 2014.
I feel like I saw it twice in the theater, but I know I haven't seen it since the theater.
Yeah, there was a lot I did. There were parts I remember, but there was a lot I did not.
I think this was a point where I think I saw it at a press screening and then I saw it with like friends opening night because we had tickets already. It wasn't like Batman versus Superman where by the time when that happened, I was like, oh no, I really didn't like this movie like strongly, and I'm committed to see again. But I was also like, So I think
I was really on the movie. And this time it got to me a little more. I don't know what. I don't know.
There's
passing
moments
of time
that got to me that more. We'll talk more about it. I will say, because if for those who are wondering, like, but guys, there are more Spider-Man movies. There's a couple reasons we're not continuing with the MCU ones, which is scheduling. We'll talk about what we're doing next in a little bit, but also I don't think it's as necessary because everyone is very MCU Spider-Man is of the now, and the whole thing here is like, let's catch up on this multiverse stuff that they're bringing back in. You know? And
maybe it is the fact that I know. Look, still nothing is confirmed, but we pretty much all know that these past Spideys are coming back. And maybe it's because I know this story will continue in a certain way with No Way Home, however it plays out with Lizard and Electro and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker and so forth. We even get, and this is very Amazing Spider-Man 2 specific, obviously it's comic book specific, but like what happens to Gwen in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then with the shot we see of MJ falling in No Way Home, we feel like there could be a full circle aspect. So maybe I was watching this movie with, with a refresher of paint. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I also wound up at the end of this movie kind of bummed. Obviously, I don't think, losing one of your co-leads, a very charismatic one at that, isn't good for a series. But like, I did kind of want to see this story wrap up. Although when I remember the first time when I saw it, I was like, they're not making a 3. That's too bad. Whatever. My daughter was devastated, but now I'm kind of like, oh, that does suck. And I do know why she, would have been really upset that this didn't sort of carry on past this. Speaking of my daughter, I took her and my son to California last week. First, we saw Hamilton, not in California. And then we did the Disneyland California Adventure and Thanksgiving with my dad. And I was texting Eric throughout the week, but like California Adventure is interesting because I've never spent a day there.
You've been there, but
so that's the thing. I've only ever been there on a park hopper pass and been like over there for a couple hours and then come back. Like I had a general layout of the land. I knew the lay of the land in my head, but like I've never been there just for a day, and it found things that I never knew existed, like the Animation Academy and the Sorcerer's Apprentice room, with the Beast Library and all that stuff that, it's behind the Off the Page shop.
Yeah.
It's a cool animation shop. And we're like, throughout the day, they have a Disney animator in there, like once every half hour, teaching you how to draw a different Disney character. We drew Zero from Nightmare Before Christmas.
You did.
But yeah, I think that park is obviously, it's always been a stretch to have something California centric, and they've gone beyond that, obviously, especially now that it's soaring over the world. Though when I went last time, Eric, in 2019, they had just turned it back to soaring over California.
Oh yeah, they
very
did
briefly. Yeah. So I had actually never been on Soaring Over the World. That's what it's mostly been.
That's funny. Have you ever watched the Imagineering story on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I watched the episodes. Yeah.
It's always so interesting to me how when they talk about that whole era of the early 2000s and how there was this glut of like do these parks on the cheap, smaller and on the cheap. So you had California Adventure and you had Hong Kong Disneyland and you had the second park at Paris, the Studios one, that were all like half day parks and weren't really fleshed out, that now they're trying to fix like years later.
Yeah.
Except for the big exception was Disney Sea, because that was not being paid for by Disney. It was being paid for by this Japanese conglomerate, and Disney Sea is like the most beautiful park I've ever been to because it was like an open wallet, situation at the time. So it's
I watched the Imagineering stories, and then I also watched a documentary they have on Disney Plus called Waking Sleeping Beauty. You ever watch that?
Yes, I did watch that. Yeah,
it's very
Brent
cool.
Simons recommended that to me a long time ago. It's great. Yeah, it's a really interesting one about that the whole era that the Little Mermaid kicked off of like their comeback.
Yeah, unofficial good thing to enjoy is that documentary on Disney Plus, Waking Sleeping Beauty, which is about like the low point of Disney animation in sort of the 80s and the bombs that they were suffering, and then how it all got brought back to life with the changing of the guard. And there's also a lot in there about Katzenberg and Bob Iger and Roy Disney Jr. and stuff like that. It's all very interesting.
It is indeed. One more question I have for you about California Adventure, because I was asking you plenty via text. I know that unfortunately you didn't get to see the little Spider-Man kind of little mini show they do.
I just couldn't hang out at Avengers Campus all day waiting for them.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I was surprised you didn't see it because it happens fairly frequently, but I don't know if there's a set schedule, but I was just going to ask you, what characters did you see?
I saw Black Panther, Okoye, Iron Man, Ant-Man, Wasp, Captain Marvel. I believe.
Oh, that's a great group. I've never.
This is throughout the day, but I did not see Hawkeye and Kate, who were supposed to start that day.
Yeah, that's too bad. I've never seen Ant-Man or Black Panther while I've been there, so that's cool that you saw them. Because the thing about Avengers Campus is it's like they want to keep it very populated, and a big leg up it has on Galaxy's Edge is that a lot of the very familiar, beloved characters cycle in and out frequently. And just the whole idea is like, you're amongst the Avengers, you're amongst the Marvel heroes. So you never know who you're going to see. One time I saw an elaborate kind of stunt show with Black Widow and Captain America fighting Taskmaster up on top of Avengers headquarters.
I didn't get to see any fights. My theory is that they don't give a set schedule for these shows because then it would just clog up the works. I don't know.
Exactly.
But then I miss it and I don't see it. And for all I know, it didn't even happen that day. Maybe it was
right.
Maybe the robot was broken.
What you're describing with Spider-Man makes me think maybe there was an issue with like the robot or something.
We were there quite a bit. I went back to try to get shawarma.
The Spider-Man one is one of the most frequent. So that sounds like there might have been an issue that day.
Any excuse I had to go through there, like I would literally go sort of through Radiator Springs up through Avengers Campus just to get to a place I probably could have gotten to more easily.
Right.
Anyway, good time had by all, and did not get the vegan shawarma because they were sold out, and then ate vegan banh mi instead over at Paradise Pier, only to find about an hour and a half later when I walked back there that they had restocked all the shawarma.
I know.
They could have told me more was coming. They could have told me shawarma was on the way.
They could have. Let me try to briefly, because it's, we're always doing this late for Matt, so I feel bad when this goes long.
It's fine. Look,
but
because I was going to go into my pet peeve about that one moment from Avengers where I found it completely unbelievable that Tony didn't know what shawarma was.
Yeah, I know.
Not just as a person who lived in a city, but also as somebody who traveled the world.
Right. Which is funny because,
to countries where shawarma was big.
Right. The whole shawarma thing is, famously was a Downey improv because it led to this post-credit scene, which now is like Pop Funkos, which is all great. But I do agree with you that Tony Stark would know what shawarma is. So if me growing up in the Valley knew what shawarma is, Tony Stark would know. My big trip this past week was to Comic-Con special edition.
Comic-Con asterisk. Comic-Con footnote. Yeah.
Comic-Con special edition, what they called it. But
I saw the pictures of you just sort of like running around like it was Night of the Comet. Like it's like
it was fascinating. It was I had a good time. I really did. Like because I saw some people that were like, oh, this looks so depressing. I did not find it depressing. It was weird as hell. And because it was so empty, just the fact, you walk up to the convention center and it's like you just walk up to the convention center. There's not like hordes of people to get through. There were people around. It's all relative. There were, many people around. It's just like this tiny fraction of the armies. It usually
would you say it was like Comic-Con, like what it was 20 years ago?
It was similar to 20 years ago for sure, down to there's a movie and TV panel a little bit, but not nearly as much. But of course, it was even less populated than 20 years ago, just because, again, and they knew. I mean, this is not a shock when you have one Thanksgiving weekend, and it's like, but this was all kind of to do something right now, right? But I still had a good time. It was actually really fun to go to the weird, quirky panels I would never have time for at a regular Comic-Con, and watch a panel about like obscure comic book characters, and just strange, fun things like that. And I still watch the cosplayers out back and the guys who like to have night fight, like dress like knights and do like LARP fights, who are there every summer. I still had a really good time. It just was so strange. The thing that was lacking is like that energy, that like buzz and hype. Because I wrote an article about it today, and I mentioned it's like it's not just that like you couldn't go into Hall H and be there for the Marvel Studios panel. It's that even if you don't go to that panel, the cool things that get announced, like it's a wave through the convention. Did you just see what they announced?
Yeah, everyone's looking at their phone the whole time with the crappy internet, like trying to get like any news that drops from these big panels.
So you never had that. I will say John Cena's surprise appearance.
I was going to say, was Peacemaker the sort of the headliner of that whole thing?
Yeah, the Peacemaker costume that John Cena will not take off at this point. But they were a sponsor. HBO Max was a sponsor. They were one of the only shows, along with La Brea, that did an activation, like an offsite activation. And the one that Peacemaker did was a big elaborate one. Like it was really fun. It was like this whole like you were being trained for like a combat thing with Nerf guns, and you run through fog, and these guys are like yelling at you like they work for Peacemaker. So they were already kind of a big presence, but there was no official panel. But then at the Masquerade, which is again a thing I never go to because I don't have time. The Masquerade is it's a competition. It's where the most elaborate cosplayers like come out, and they are like actually judged by people.
That was always on a Sunday, right? Like
it's Saturday night at like 8.
Okay.
And even if I was free to do it, you have to line up all day. It's like, and it's in ballroom.
Sunday was like the winners announced. Something happened on Sunday.
No, because they announced it at the thing. You're drinking right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, this time I walked up and walked right in, even though it was the only thing in Ballroom 20. Hall H wasn't used. Ballroom 20 was only used for Masquerade, and it was really full. Like it was didn't feel empty in there. It just wasn't every seat taken. So it's probably like 3,500 people in a 4,000 seat room. So it's a substantial amount of people. And John Cena made a surprise appearance wearing the Peacemaker costume at the start. That was really cool. And the girl next to me freaked out and was saying, what the fuck, over and over, seeing famous person she didn't expect to see. And that was fun.
John Cena's here at the special edition.
Right. Special edition.
Maybe she was just excited because she could actually see him. Because see, Eric, you can't see.
No, I haven't heard that reference
John.
before.
John Cena, you can't see him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Speaking of LARPing, let's give our thoughts on the first, very brief, quickly, the thoughts on the first 2 episodes since we're recording this on Tuesday night. New episode drops tomorrow or early morning.
I will be staying
and
up
Eric
to
for a
watch
few
it.
hours. Yeah.
After we finish this.
Of Hawkeye, because they dropped 2 episodes that started last week. First one's called Never Meet Your Heroes. Second one's called Hide and Seek, which involves a LARP fest. What'd you think, Eric? What's your takeaway?
Oh man, I loved it. And I unequivocally loved it. I know, we joke about that we're like MCU stands, and we're mostly going to be very positive at MCU. But it's like, look, there's been things this year like Eternals where I really dug Eternals, but I had some issues with it. Hawkeye was totally into it, which I thought I would be from the trailers, the vibe they were going for, this sort of buddy cop Christmas action movie vibe, which I think it did really well. Again, we're going off the first 2. By the time people hear this, they'll probably have seen the third. And I, think they're both great. That obviously Haley Steinfeld is, she's been great for already a decade now. But she's just so naturally likable and charismatic. She's perfect for that role. I like that it gives Clint, more dimension, even though I already liked Clint in the movies. And I'm a huge fan of the Matt Fraction comics that a lot of this is based off of. I just reread that run. And so I love seeing so much stuff pulled from that. So I'm all in. Plus that obscure Depeche Mode B-side they used as the closing credits for the second episode.
That was
my new jam.
Off of a Black Celebration single. I think I'm a little less hot on it than you. What I want, I think it's completely charming. I think there are some moments that really work and resonate. I want the dialogue to be better. And I usually don't. And I think it's pretty clunky. I want it to be funnier. I want the dialogue to be as funny and clever as the concept itself. Like, as the, maybe it's bad that it evoked such a Shane Black, vibe with me because of the Christmas time and the buddy action comedy element of it. And I want the dialogue to be funny, because the dialogue's not really funny. They're fun together. It's fun. But I also want, like, sometimes they'll say a line and I was like, that's the line they go with. That's like, some things just fall a little flat for me. And like, there are also lines where it's like, even at the beginning, when the dad just says to her, like, or she says to her father, Kate says when she's young, and coming out of the Avengers movie, she's like, what would you do in a hurricane? It's like, well, that line's going to come back in some form. And it felt forced and shoehorned in there to begin with. So there's just parts of what they say that I feel like could be funnier. Like Clint going to a LARP day out and having to sort of put up with what he considers to be sort of an intolerable hobby and just be a grump about everything, like he kind of is funny, but then nothing they say is funny. Does that make? Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It makes sense. Although I laughed so much in that scene because the visual of him casually beating them all, because of course he's a better fighter than them all.
But see, that's the whole thing. It's like that was that slow-mo scene where he sort of went through everybody. So like there are visual things that are funny, like the cutaways of him like taking all that damage when she's like, why do you have a hearing aid? And all it did was cut to past movies of being exploded all over the place and falling through windows and stuff like that. So like they've got visual gags down. I just want them to be funny when they say words. Anyway, other than that, though, I think issue.
Although I did agree with you that the whole part with her as a kid with the dad was very like clunky in that regard of like, this is a meaningful exchange, you know.
And the dad looked like somebody, like the way his facial hair was and his hair was. It looked like somebody who's still alive and is coming back. You know how like Vera Farmiga in that scene had to be de-aged a little bit and looked a little different? This guy looked like somebody who was wearing a fake goatee. Like he didn't look like he was an actor. I don't know. He had such a weirdly specific look that it feels like we're going to see him again in a way that he looks more naturally as an actor. I could
Maybe.
be completely off base about that.
I just know that it is interesting because they're switching up her parents a lot from the comics, because in the comics her mom was dead, but her dad was like a gangster. And it's again, we're only going from the first 2 episodes here, guys, but it seems like first, you don't hire Vera Farmiga just to play the mom. So she's obviously,
I know, and we already know who Better Call Saul guy is playing. We know who he's playing anyway,
right?
And the guy who was playing Armand Duquesne was weird. Like his line delivery was weird, and it seems very like a weird, convoluted family thing going on at the beginning because he's the uncle of the swordsman. Like I don't understand. So anyway, but the bare bones of all of it is very good. Like the holiday stuff, meeting Kate Bishop, Lucky the Pizza Dog, Tracksuit Mafia, meeting Echo right there at the end, right at the end of episode 2. Like there are things that are still working about it. Like obviously I'm a mark for all this too. I just wanted the lines to be more clever. All right.
The actor who plays her dad was part of a Twitter convo I was not part of, but observed between Sepinwall and I can't remember who else today or yesterday about when you know an actor is a great musical performer, but they're not hired to do that, and you just want to hear them sing, because that actor is a major Broadway star who played Shrek in Shrek the Musical, but he has a million other.
Is that like when we see Jonathan Groff in Mindhunter or in Matrix coming up?
Yes, yeah. Exactly. And you're like, why is this person not singing?
Well, to be fair, we haven't seen Matrix Resurrections yet, so
that's true. I mean, you could very easily have a musical number.
He could break into song for sure. Yeah. Mindhunter, maybe not so much, but we didn't know where that series was headed, except toward BTK. All right. Let's talk about some Spider-Man before we talk about some Spider-Man. The first, let's get into, okay, so basically, there's still things to clear up. I know a lot more things may become clear once we all see No Way Home, but the nervousness, the anxiety, the trepidation about what is going on with the Sonyverse versus the MCU, and is Tom Holland at the end of this movie being sucked into a vortex and is going to land in the world of Venom and Carnage and Morbius, and we'll never see poor Wong again.
Well, he'll never see poor Wong again. We'll see Wong again.
No, I know, but I mean, not us. We're going to see Wong forever. But I'm saying, like, So are they really just going to suck him into a less than a subpar version of the Spider-Man universe? This is my opinion.
It's not the opinion of the about this than I have.
It's not the opinion of the box office. It's my personal opinion. But so Tom Holland will remain as the Spider-Man for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and producer Amy Pascal explained that even with No Way Home, Sony is getting ready to make the next Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland and Marvel. What does that mean, Eric? Does that mean with the MCU, right? That means
yes. Because if you look at the question, the question was like, oh, he was mentioning you're wrapping up this trilogy you guys did with Marvel Studios, and she's like, oh wait, can I say something? And is like, we're doing more with Marvel. So she seemed to really want to make sure to clarify, don't look at this as the end of the Marvel Studios stuff. And look, the thing is, it's such a mutually beneficial situation. As much as people be like, Sony needs Marvel Studios, they do and they don't. They do, to be a guiding light. And of course, because we want it to be, they could still do it without them, and they could still make hit movies. But when it briefly fell apart a couple years ago, when they were not going to make a new deal, they saw the reaction. And I say they, I mean everyone. I mean Marvel Studios and Feige and Sony and Pascal and everyone. No one was happy. Tom Holland famously called Bob Iger and all this stuff to get it to be worked out. So it seems like they're on good terms right now. I already felt that because not getting specific still, just in case people haven't seen it, but like the Venom post-credit scene and everything going on, it just felt like there's more cooperation. Even I think we mentioned recently, it's like that Spider-Man animated series that Marvel Studios is doing that is described in a way that makes it sound like it's a prequel to the Tom Holland movies that has to have Sony at least being consulted with or in the loop on, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean,
so it just feels like they know they all know we should keep this going, this part.
But then she had this part of her quote has this curious part where she's like, we're getting ready to make the next Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland and Marvel. It just isn't part of, and then it goes ...
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking of this as 3 films, and now we're going to go on to the next 3. This is not the last of our MCU movies. That's more clear. But she started to say we're make the next Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland and Marvel. It just isn't part of what?
Well, I think that they're saying the full thing I saw. She's saying that this is the end of a trilogy, but there's, it's like, but the series continues. Just like when we joke about any long-running series that almost has its own trilogy within it,
All right.
It's like, or even how like not only is the MCU split into phases, but the Infinity Saga, which was like 22 movies or however many, 23 movies, and yet it's still continued after that. It's like the Infinity Saga is finished and almost all the characters will continue on. So I think that's just, they're saying they're like, yes, this is the end of the trilogy. The main thing I think, Matt, is he'll graduate high school. It's like, he'll be done with high school after this movie. They'll bring him to college. The character will start to, get a little older. So that when they won't have the word home in the title.
Maybe they'll have the word school in the title. Home school.
We shall see.
Back to school. And it's just, the plot of the Rodney Dangerfield movie.
Yes.
Okay. Underrated Danny Elfman score, that film.
Oh yeah, it is. Very early Danny Elfman score.
Danny Elfman's in the movie too, because Oingo Boingo is playing a local college pub.
It's not is the pub. I thought it was their dorm. It's the dorm rooms that they they
are they playing in the joined dorm rooms? I thought they were playing in the bar.
You might be right. It's been a while.
He did make the dorm rooms big. Like he knocked down all the walls.
I'm pretty sure it's their dorm because I remember Sally Kirkman like dancing to Oingo Boingo and the stuffy guys like angry about it. And I think it's in their dorm, but
I think it's in the bar. So someone who listens,
dorm or bar,
Brent Simons, chime in and tell us where Oingo Boingo is playing in Back to School. I don't know why he's a Back to School expert.
I'm gonna just Google image it just to see if I can tell from the image.
See like what the wall looks like behind them.
Okay, well, wherever it is, they actually have a full like neon Oingo Boingo sign up behind them.
It feels like the bar.
I don't know. Rodney was so rich in the movie, though. I think he could have paid for signage. I'm still going dorm based on these pictures. But
all right. Well, next week we'll tell you what it is.
Dorm or bar. Our new segment, dorm or bar.
So speaking of Spider-Man, Tom Holland will stay in the MCU and with making movies with Sony and Marvel. Spider-Man No Way Home, basically, it's still about 2 weeks from opening, a little over 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But the ticket pre-sales were absolutely insane. That basically they surpassed 2019's Avengers Endgame.
No, it didn't surpass. It was Endgame's still the biggest for.
Okay. Well, the one I was reading was saying pre-sales on Fandango.
Oh, there was one site, not Fandango. Fandango was the biggest since, but it clearly was the biggest since. I mean, that was the main thing. Was like we hadn't seen this happen since the pandemic began.
I gauge it because where Eric lives, all movies sort of sell out. All big movies, it's sort of a scramble. Some more than others, but it's all it's not quite the scramble like it is where I live. And here, I'd never seen. I don't think. Probably since Endgame or something like that, like every theater around me for the Thursday, talking just the Thursday, preview night before the 17th, selling out all the main tickets aside from like, say the first 2 rows,
This was crazy. Because
it crashed sites. People are selling the tickets on eBay.
Scalping them. So crazy. Because Yeah, like other big movies this year, because other movies have opened very well this year, and you've had your Fast Nine and No Time to Die and Shang-Chi. But all of them you were able to buy tickets whenever you wanted, kind of in the build-up. Like, you check, oh, it's starting to get crowded in that theater, but it wasn't this kind of pressure. And it was like it went on sale at an announced time. I was at my computer. I had my phone in one hand on Fandango because I knew from the past sometimes it works better than on the phone. On my computer, I had multiple tabs open. I had two friends that we were on a text chain who were also trying to buy for all of us. And none of us, because it was, every site was crashing. Every site was crashing. It just was like very stressful and exciting. And I managed to buy us our tickets. So there was success, but it was like, this is like 2019. This is like all the Star Wars sequels.
And I think we all anticipated this, basically, because look, we started getting phase 4. The movies rolled out later than we would have liked because of unforeseen pandemic circumstances.
Right.
But okay, Black Widow, popular character, never had her own movie.
Mm-hmm.
Gets her own movie. Not to say that people aren't excited for it, but also it's a prequel. So it's like, it's not going to further the MCU story. Shang-Chi and Eternals are new characters.
Yep.
Of the most popular characters from the Infinity Saga, as we'll call it, Iron Man, Captain America, they're not around anymore. Most other auxiliary characters, I can say that word, are on Disney Plus. A lot of them are Wanda and Vision and Falcon, Winter Soldier. Loki is, he's got his own spotlight now, but he's on Disney Plus. And so the big one of the originals is Spider-Man, and he's coming around. And not only is Spider-Man coming around as like the first big movie that with a popular core MCU character coming back, who's had 2 solo movies already.
And a character who, as we've been discussing for the past few weeks, was already pre-MCU, an amazingly beloved character who had huge sort of...
More than any of the other ones I've mentioned. More than Iron Man, Thor, any of these. So he's like a box office bonanza before the MCU. Right. Also during the MCU. Like the Andrew Garfield movies that we've been recapping here, like during the MCU, these were going on.
Yep.
And he's just you could obviously big argument, it's not even an argument. Biggest characters for DC, Batman. Biggest character for Marvel, Spider-Man.
Yep.
Like that's it. That's who you got. But this movie specifically also is going to bring in MCU casuals or people who don't give a shit, or all those people who checked out WandaVision who never seen a lick of the MCU because it just looked cool. This one is not just the MCU Spider-Man. This is 20 years of cinematic Spider-Man.
Yeah,
because we're getting the other 2 franchises into this movie. So it's like a double stuffed Oreo. It is like jam packed. So this was the movie that we were all looking to. It's still not playing in China yet, right? As far as we know, like
I thought this one did get the okay.
Okay, because then this one,
I think it's going to be the first.
This could be our first billion
this year.
Yeah. So anyway, people are scalping tickets online. I didn't see how much.
Yes, it is going to be. It is going to. Looks like it's going to play in China.
All right. I mean, good luck understanding anything because they didn't get the other. I'm kidding. They don't need. I don't know how much they need to see Eternals or Shang-Chi to know what's happening in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Turns out a lot.
Everything. Oh no, it's all about Arishem, the judge. God, that would be awful. Yeah. Okay. So that was Spider Talk. With a little bit of a dorm room or bar thrown in for your pleasure. So we are, as I failed to say at the top of the podcast, you can write to us at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. You can join our Patreon for $2 a month. You can get a commercial-free version of this podcast. That means that nothing is just jarringly interrupting you while you're listening to our dulcet tones. And you can find us on Twitter at the Matt Fowler, the Eric Goldman, We Enjoy Podcast. And that's all the news that's fit to print. I think at this point, we are looking to, right now, this weekend, because I'm going away Thursday and Friday. My oldest daughter is graduating Army. Graduating Army. Off to Army. I wish Buster Bluth was there because that would make things so much more comfortable for me. She's ending her months of basic training. So I'm going to go there. But this weekend, we're going to do a Chucky TV series recap.
Yeah.
So that can be placed nicely and neatly at the end of our official Child's Play Chucky franchise recap that we've already done.
In 5 minutes, the Chucky season finale will begin airing here in Los Angeles. So yeah, we will discuss all 8 episodes. Just got renewed yesterday. I will say I interviewed Don Mancini. I did like a post-mortem interview with him. And I said to him at the beginning of it, I said, congratulations on season 2. And also, I'm so glad they announced season 2 yesterday, because otherwise we'd have to do that thing. And I've done it before of, if you get season 2, what do you hope to do? And all.
Oh, you mean with your interview?
Yeah. Versus like, we know what's happening. Everything can be said a little more definitively. So it helps.
I still need to catch the finale myself, so I will do that probably tomorrow. So that should be coming up this weekend. And got some a couple emails here. Some people did utilize the Gmail technology to write us letters. Kermit actually writes in and says, "Love going back revisiting the Spider-Man movies. I got a question for you both. What is your favorite Spider-Man game made before the last 2 released on PlayStation?" He's talking about the Sony games, Spider-Man and Miles Morales, which are both excellent. That Spider-Man game, which you have not played Miles Morales, I don't believe, Eric, but you did play Spider-Man.
I beat it. It was the first game I beat in many years. Don't forget, Matt, I'm thanked in the credits of that game. No, I love that. It's such a great game. It's one of my favorite games.
Wait, why are you thanking the credits?
Because I worked at Marvel at the time, and they were very generous because I wrote an article or 2 in support of it, and they basically gave a thanks to like everyone who in some way at Marvel had done something for it. So
that's pretty cool.
That's my big credit.
Your big break of TV. So I guess it would be cheating if I pick Marvel Spider-Man, Kermit. I'm not a giant Spider-Man video game playing machine, though, so I'll just say I did play Spider-Man, the movie, the game from 2002 on GameCube, and Spider-Man 2, the game, the movie, the game on GameCube in 2004. I don't remember which of those I liked more. I remember really digging the first one.
Yeah, I remember one of them being very talked about as far as like much better than a movie tie-in games usually are.
I mean, I can only assume that was the first one because it was good, and one of the things I really appreciated about that game too, and it's something that you experienced again just now with the Sony game, Eric, is how fun it is to thwip around the city.
Oh yeah,
and that started with that game, but in that game, in the GameCube game, Eric, so you lived in Manhattan, so you understand. You're getting an abridged, truncated version of Manhattan.
Right.
Like the neighborhoods are there, the layout's there. It obviously assumes nothing exists above Sugar Hill and above Harlem in that game. Like there's no upper Manhattan at all. But other than that, also, it skips streets. Like it'll skip 4 streets. It goes every 4th or 5th street. So the neighborhoods are shorter. Bigger landmarks are there, but the neighborhoods are shorter. Those GameCube games, Eric, that was an exact Thomas Guide fucking map of like the graphics weren't there. So the buildings weren't like things weren't identical or anything like that. But that was like you could go to 102nd Street, 103rd Street. So I could go in front of the building I grew up in, technically on 104th and West End Avenue. Like I could walk in front of it. It didn't look like my building because it was a GameCube game, but
right.
So I enjoyed that element of it as well as enjoyed whatever. Was it a GTA game? I can't remember. I don't think it was San Andreas. Man, it might not have even been GTA. Someone out there listening will definitely know there was a game that actually also replicated all the streets of Los Angeles.
Right.
And that was really cool. Like you could run down 4th Street Promenade.
It sounds GTA, but it might not have been. My nostalgia
because they have made up cities. This was Los Angeles,
right?
So I have to. So it probably wasn't that. Okay.
To answer this question, I remember really digging one of those movie games, but I don't remember which one it was. But my nostalgic answer is Maximum Carnage, of course. For was it Super Nintendo? Yeah, I think that was pre 64. With the down the Green Jello, who had to rename themselves Green Jelly because of copyright reasons, theme. That was fun. It was fun being.
I wonder if any of our listeners know who Green Jelly is. They sing the Three Little Pigs song.
They sing Three Little Pigs song. They're big. They had a novelty hit, and then they were the guys who did the music for Maximum Carnage, which had a red cartridge, guys. It was a freaking red cartridge.
Remember the gold Zelda cartridges?
Oh, I almost bought a pin at Comic-Con Special Edition that was a gold Nintendo cartridge.
Kermit
Maximum
says,
Carnage was really fun. Maximum Carnage, where you could play as Spider-Man or Venom, and it's a side scroller. And you're just like webbing guys and pulling them towards you. And then it had these weird, like, kind of little bonus things, kind of like some fighting games do, where you can call in someone to help you. But this is a side scroller where a lot of the characters, because Maximum Carnage was like a 14 issue comic book storyline that had a lot of guest stars, and you could like call them in, like Cloak and Dagger or Firestar would like come in and you couldn't control them, but they would help you out for a second. So that was a fun game, and the cartridge was red. Damn it, it was red.
Twisted Firestar. Kermit says his favorite game was called Shattered Dimensions. Kermit, I do not know that game, but he says,
"Oh no, I know Shattered Dimensions."
Yeah, he says it includes voices of from the animated series, including Josh Keaton, Neil Patrick Harris, Christopher Daniel Barnes, and Dan Gilvezan. I don't know how you say his name. I believe this actually.
Oh, what did you say?
I was just reading Kermit's words. He just said, I believe this actually inspired the Spider-Verse comic, which inspired Into the Spider-Verse. And Kermit says his theory is that the new Spider-Man movie is slightly based off this game.
That was my fun fact about this game too, which I've not played, but that Dan Slott, who wrote the Spider-Verse comic book storyline, which was about, a bunch of Spider-Mans from different dimensions teaming up, which obviously directly influenced Into the Spider-Verse. But Dan Slott, whenever they've done like oral histories or talked about this, Shattered Dimensions did help. It was like a major influence on that comic book happening, because it was 4 Spider-Mans from different dimensions, including, having actors who'd voiced Spider-Man on other shows before, like Christopher Daniel Barnes, Neil Patrick Harris, and Josh Keaton. Also, that game, Spider-Man Noir, because the others are like much more familiar, like Spider-Man 2099 and classic Spider-Man, but Spider-Man Noir, who hadn't really been an important thing in the comics, he existed, but that was the first time he got like a big spotlight. So the fact that character is Into the Spider-Verse, very beautifully played by Nicolas Cage, there's definitely a direct lineage going back to.
I think this is a good time for me to mention that I grew up with Christopher Daniel Barnes, who I went to elementary school with, and was the first person I played Dungeons and Dragons with.
That's awesome. And he voiced Spider-Man Noir. So he and Nicolas Cage share the Spider-Man Noir history.
And he lived in Raphael's building.
I recall you telling me that part. Yes.
Yeah. All right. That's a Fowler fact. Okay. Let's talk. Good things to enjoy. So many segments this week. Before we get into good things to enjoy, let's talk about our main event for next week and our next franchise.
Yeah.
One right into a new franchise. This is a 4-movie franchise, and all of this is by design. We did this so that the Spider-Man movie, so that we can be ready for No Way Home. And we're doing Scream next so that we can be ready for Scream.
And we did Matrix before that, so we can be ready for Matrix.
Yeah, so Scream will ultimately lead us to Scream.
Which and I'll rant about the goddamn title, calling your sequel the same name as a previous movie in the franchise. This is a plague on Hollywood that we need to put a stop to.
Pox on Tinseltown, according to
I know why they do it. because they think the kids won't go see a movie with even a subtitle they're afraid of, much less a number. They want to trick them.
Why didn't they call Ghostbusters Afterlife just Ghostbusters, Eric?
And the movie itself kind of did, if you noticed, at the end. But yeah. Anyway, that doesn't mean the movies can't be good. It's just a very frustrating title thing. But yes.
So we'll start next week with the original 1996 Scream,
which is on AMC Plus, and DirecTV members can get it. But most of you are going to need to rent it or purchase it.
Honestly, guys, if you haven't memorized this movie by now, I don't know why you're listening to us.
No.
Memorize this movie.
The movie is 25 years old, Matt. It's 25 years old. I don't expect everyone to
memorize. All right.
You can please listen to our podcast even if you have not memorized Scream.
I say do not.
No, don't listen to that man. He's crazy.
Let's do good things to enjoy. My good thing to enjoy this week is a movie that is still currently in theaters. And I say that, Eric, because of how some things are, like Warner Brothers have all of their movies simul-releasing on HBO Max this year. And the window for streaming is even shorter. Things show up really quickly. Things don't last in theaters, man. Like, I really wanted to see Last Week in Soho in a theater, and I still can in a small house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't see it opening weekend, that kind of movie I'm going to miss in the big house.
Well, I mean, but that kind of movie, frankly, that's Last Night in Soho bombed. So, yeah.
I know, but I'm saying, like, now I just might as well watch it on TV. And so I'm just saying, like, this movie that I'm about to recommend, it opened just this last weekend before the Thanksgiving openings on Wednesday. But it already is like, it's already gonna have to make way really quickly for Spider-Man and Matrix and all those movies. Okay, so I recommend Ghostbusters Afterlife, which has a colon subtitle. So we don't have to call it Ghostbusters 2021.
Right. Thank God.
I love this movie. I thought it was really well done. And I thought it was a really great way at the best you could hope for a legacy sequel done this many decades later for a beloved 80s property that so many from our generation just, jizz about nonstop. And I think this movie, it's got a Spielbergian feel to it. It nicely focuses mostly on all the new characters and building them up so that you actually really care about them. And honestly, it's done in such a way, Eric, that I didn't need the pop-ins at the end. It was great, right. But the movie could have held its own without the legacy stars showing up. And I'm not spoiling anything because everyone knows who comes back for this movie.
I mean, it's one of those things that I think is so funny because I saw this movie very early at a very early press screening. And at the time, they're like, don't talk about anyone coming back. Don't ask questions because they did the junket. Don't ask questions. And then it's like the week of release, they're all on, Fallon or I can't remember which. They all went on a talk show together.
They were all announced.
They were all announced
vaguely 6 months ago.
They were all kind of announced, but the trailers were being a little coy.
Yeah, I know the trailers are being coy, but the trades weren't.
But there's always a difference between the trades and Sony putting out an announcement. But my point is, by the time the movie opened, they were all doing press, so it's not like at that point, it's just this weird game they play of don't talk about it. But then it's so annoying because my interviews can run at the time that these people are all doing talk shows. I'm like, why couldn't I have asked about this?
Now, I'm not saying that Ghostbusters 2 isn't canon, but you don't need to see it for this movie. It really almost is a Halloween 2018 situation where it's a sequel to the first Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Where Ghostbusters 2 could or could not have taken place. It's up to you. it's viewers' choice at this point. The only
thing they took literally one thing, which is in the trailer, so I can mention it, that Ray's Occult Store was in Ghostbusters 2. So
yeah.
that was the one thing.
That's about it. But they could have just assumed that anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean, it's got Carrie Coon, who I deeply adore, obviously from The Leftovers. and Finn Wolfhard, who's got the most metal name of any performer out there. He's from Stranger Things, and
Patton Oswalt got shit because at Comic-Con when he moderated a Stranger Things panel, he joked with all the kids there that Finn Wolfhard's name sounded like a porn star, and there was a lot of like not the children. Anguish about it.
And he was in the It films,
and they were like, "What's porn?
What is pornography?" I say as a child actor,
right,
who's being thrust into worlds and into circles far beyond my emotional intelligence,
and probably gets invited to way crazier parties than Patton Oswalt.
It's true. It's got and Paul Rudd, so you know all this from the trailer, but it has also a young actress named McKenna Grace, who is in actually quite a few things.
A shitload of things.
I know her best from The Haunting of Hill House, where she played young Thea Crane. And if you remember that show, you remember how much of that, how much success, basically how good the child performers were in Haunting of Hill House, and how much that really lent to the actual terror and the thrills of that show. And ultimately its success in the end too. But she played young Thea Crane in that, and she is remarkable and great here as young Phoebe. And if you've seen the trailer, you understand. You already know what the plot is, which is like, this is Egon's family who inherit his farmhouse in Oklahoma, and shit's going down. And if you parse the trailers at all, you could tell you see Gozer, the statue, and so it's all connected to the supernatural cross-rip plot from the first movie. And like I was saying, you don't need the actual callbacks and bells and whistles and the nods and the winks to the original, which there are plenty of, and I don't mind, and they're fun. But the groundwork for this movie is good enough that it could have just done it on its own. I understand the need. I understand why they didn't do that, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, I just thought this is from Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, the original director. And it stands as a great family movie, coming of age movie, a connection to the original Ghostbusters. It's emotional. I cried. I enjoyed it immensely. Now I'll say that the legacy stars coming back is good for a pop, right? It's good for the pop. I liked it a lot, but there are two other surprise stars in this movie that are even more exciting to me because I knew nothing about them going in, and I won't say anything. But they were really fun.
I can't think at all about who those are, so you have to tell me afterwards. I really like this movie. I'm a little more not subdued. I'm not quite as enthusiastic as you are, but I really liked it. I think it definitely did an extremely good job of capturing that sort of Amblin vibe it was going for. The stuff with the kids. It's a slow setup that in a good way. I really like, all the, stuff with them in the town and is, building up. McKenna Grace is freaking excellent. I thought she was so great in kind of a star-making performance, even though, yes, if you look at her IMDb, she's actually had a shitload of roles. She's even been asked about the fact
she's
that
a Disney star, yeah.
But also, she has played the young version of so many people. She was young Tanya, young Margot Robbie in I, Tanya, young Brie Larson in Captain Marvel. We mentioned Hill House. She was the young version of the main character in Malignant. It's like she just keeps doing it. But the funniest thing, Matt, is I realized, because she looks so different in this than she normally does. They dyed her hair dark, and she's got the Egon-y glasses. I interviewed her for Annabelle Comes Home. I was like, oh yeah, I interviewed her in the.
Oh, she played young Annabelle.
She did not play young Annabelle, but she's excellent, and really, even to people who were like on the fence or like, I'm like, see it for her. I had some issues with the third act. There was just some stuff where I thought that they were, there was too much repetition of things from the first one. I thought there's a choice near the end that is somewhat poignant, but also overdone. I thought that kind of goes on too long. But I would still recommend the movie quite a bit. I think it's successful in what it's trying to do. And I know that there's, some cynical, like this sort of nostalgia masturbation. But I think that, like you said, the strongest parts of this movie don't even, yes, it's nostalgic because it's Ghostbusters, But as far as like introducing a new generation, it does a really strong job of that. And so that
and if you go see it, there's a mid-credit and a post-credit scene.
There are indeed. And it's a big hit, by the way. Sony, except for the Resident Evil movie, which bombed, with Venom and now this, and obviously Spider-Man, they're having a good second half of this year.
All right. What is your good thing to enjoy?
Before I do my good thing, which I'm going to try to keep this all short because we haven't even gotten to our main event, I do want to do a follow-up, kind of like I did with The Night House, and just say that The Last Duel, which I recommended a few weeks ago, is on digital this week, and will be on 4K and Blu-ray, I believe, next week. And I love this movie, and it came up recently in a funny way because Ridley Scott is old and says silly things.
Man, and the other thing is he just had 2 movies open within like 3 weeks of each other. So he's been in the press quite a bit, just being a cranky old fucker. Like,
and because Last Duel bombed, and then he had to do press for Gucci right after, then they're like asking a cranky old fucker like 3 weeks after his movie bombed, why do you think it bombed? And he said a very silly thing about it's millennials. It was just as stupid as shit. But
obviously it's not. It's Gen X. We get forgotten all the time, Eric. There's a card game called Boomers versus Millennials. When do we get our due, Eric?
We don't get our due. But here's the thing.
We can be Gen X versus Gen Z.
I was all about making fun of Ridley Scott for that silly statement, because it's a silly statement and you should make fun of it. However, what did get me frustrated is that it then turned into this other thing of that, because then there were people saying, why was it really a bomb? And there were people, and then of course it comes up that this is a movie at its center about a rape. And there are people who just don't want to see that, which I completely respect. If like, you're like, my idea of entertainment is not to go see a heavy movie about a rape. I get that. But then there was a lot of people that in bad faith were making presumptions about the movie who hadn't seen it.
I hadn't seen the movie. That's the whole point. Is
saying what it was. Oh, it's another movie about a rape that puts the focus on the men. And I'm like, ooh, you are completely misreading what this movie's message is, what it's about. And that made me mad. So I want to say that if you're okay with the heavy subject matter, Last Duel, check it out, which I already recommended. But I'm just saying, I actually got to see the home version. I got a press screening, but not press screening, a screener, and looks great. There's a half-hour documentary. I still miss when you would get like hours of bonus features, but I'll take a half-hour documentary in 2021. It's a really great movie from a really great director who I think this is one of his best movies in recent years, and he's made other stuff I really like. So that whole hullabaloo made me think about it again. And when I got that screener, I was like, oh yeah, The Last Duel, check it out at home. But my real recommendation of a new movie this week, not real because Last Duel was real recommendation, but my new recommendation is Encanto. So I'm also doing Encanto. I can pronounce this name now, but you should see it. It's in theaters. I'm gonna keep this
it opened last Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Wednesday, but it is on Disney Plus on December 24th. So it's they announced that already.
No, I can't wait for this movie. I only got to see 15 minutes of it because I interviewed the director and animators, but it's very fun.
It's really fun. And Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the songs, and they're great. And me and Trish have been kind of obsessed with the soundtrack. There's a song called We Don't Talk About Bruno that we play over and over and sing all the time. And
I watched how they animated all that. Yeah.
Lavish praise on Stephanie Beatrice, who is obviously most famous for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, has Rosa, who through the years, people were like, because she's so good as Rosa that it's shocking when you watch an interview with her.
Because it's not her voice. She's putting on a fake voice for Rosa.
Everything about her voice. She has this high, totally different voice. She's putting on this deep, heavy voice as Rosa. And so if you heard her in Encanto, you would never guess it's the same girl.
But also, speaking of Lin-Manuel Miranda, if you did catch In the Heights, she is in that.
She's in the Heights.
Her non-Rosa voice, yeah.
Also, though, she's got a lot of funny improv videos on YouTube of her, like, just doing crazy stuff. But anyway, she's so great in this. And so...
It's like getting shot out of a cannon? What's she doing?
No, she's doing fun and crazy stuff. No, she's just easily... You just love the character. You love her. And I think it has some nice sort of like little, little pivots on the typical sort of Disney path of a character who wants to desperately leave home. This is about a character who wants to just fit in better at home. You've seen the trailers, you've seen the plot of everyone in this family basically has superpowers except her. Something went wrong where she's the only one who didn't get any. and what happens with that. And anyway, I've seen it twice. I saw a press screening, and Trish doesn't often want to go to the theater twice to see a movie, but this one she really did. And now she's talking about seeing a third time, Matt. So this is like her favorite movie of the year.
Yeah, I really want to see it. Guess who I saw? Speaking of going back to my conversation at the beginning about California Adventure, because you asked me about who I saw at Avengers Campus, but guess who else I saw?
Who?
Mirabel, because they have a whole Encanto world there.
You saw it? Well, they don't have a world. I mean, because it can't be.
No, so what they did, they have this Festival of Holidays.
Yeah.
And leading up to Festival of Holidays, they have turned what would be the west side of the whole pier area, not Pixar Pier, but like, you know where Little Mermaid is?
Yeah.
And like going around the other side of the lake, they've turned that whole restaurant.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
into Encanto. So it's like walking into the Colombian magical world with like all the things.
Oh man, Trish is going to be very excited, Matt.
And so inside one of the little sort of gazebo-y areas was a character meet and greet, and they had Mirabel there. So yeah, it was cool.
That's awesome, and she will demand a photo, and hopefully we will get it.
All right, let's move on to The Amazing Spider-Man Part 2.
My first complaint, and I had this complaint in 2014, is that's a terrible title. Because it's called The Amazing Spider-Man, you need something different for the title. The Amazing Spider-Man 2? No. Even if it was The Amazing Spider-Man still, but colon something, that's better than The Amazing
but
Spider-Man 2.
But you're talking like a Batman Begins type thing, like The Amazing Spider-Man Returns or The Amazing Spider-Man Strikes Back.
Just a number doesn't sound right on that.
What if it's TOO, Eric?
Sure.
What if,
as well?
What if he was? What if Amazing Spider-Man was also a talking baby?
Another Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man now.
What if they also just called it The Amazing Spider-Man?
All right, that would have been
great.
And
then we kept having to refer to like whether it was the 2012 or 2014 one.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Okay. This movie, like I mentioned at the top, it didn't irk me the way it did the first time around. I'm not saying there isn't overstuffing issues here as far as like retconning of Harry and that whole thing, and like literally Harry flying in as Harry Goblin after he'd already defeated Electro for that like fourth act part, like
right.
But I will say, and this we talked about it last week, whenever Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are on screen as Peter and Gwen, it is just, that's when the movie feels like it's home, right? Like it rests with them, which is makes it like it's even a bigger bummer that it loses her at the end, because she was such a, these were the roots of this story. Everything else can be crazy, and then as long as you come back to them, you can get through the movie, like, because they're holding it down. And because they're still so good. And when this movie starts, when it starts up, and Hans Zimmer did the music for this one, as opposed to the first movie.
I thought it was him. Who did the
first movie?
Yeah. Was it
Hans still?
I thought it was, and I think we talked about how it was like a very mediocre score for him.
But this felt like this was
the whole thing where it was a collaboration. Like it was it was him, but it was a bunch of other people.
Because the score felt a lot better this time around. It's still not anywhere.
Oh, I'm a liar. It was James Horner.
Okay, because this one, the score and the big triumphant moments, the theme of this Spider-Man, landed better this time around.
I don't know. I still felt there's something lacking about this.
No, like I said, it's still my least favorite Spidey score.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about in the first trilogy of Spider-Man is the sort of the schmaltzy, Gosh G. Willikers 60s sort of squeaky clean version of the, a teenage relationship. It's very much indicative of the comics that Sam Raimi grew up with. And Peter and Gwen in this start this movie feeling like an actual teenage couple. I feel like they connect with each other. I feel like they're friends. I feel like they fuck. I feel like they actually
really track the sex.
No, because like
no, I understand. I would the chase thing. I completely understand why you brought up with the Toby and Kirsten Dunst, Peter and Mary Jane. They seem so chaste. They seem like I would like to escort you out to the ball. It was just it seemed too reserved.
But and that goes with making this movie feel more naturalistic and grounded, which doesn't explain the whole Max Dillon element, but like these movies are meant to feel more of our world and more relatable, even though there's got giant lizard people and stuff like that. So we open the movie though with a big flashback to Campbell Scott's Richard Parker and like sort of his time overlapping with Peter's flashback in the beginning of the first movie, and why he had to flee. And then like a 10-minute airplane fight sequence.
Yeah, Richard Parker gets to fight. Yeah.
Is this the first and only Campbell Scott fight sequence? Has he ever had an action sequence in anything?
I assume this is the only one. Yeah. I don't know.
He just stars in like Indie Fair, doesn't he? Like The Secret Lives of Dentists, or like with anything with Hope Davis and Campbell Scott. And like, that's the movie. Actually, Dennis Leary was in that movie too. So that was sort of like another Amazing Spider-Man. But like Richard Parker, like kicking ass on an airplane and like guns and shooting out and crashing. And I guess, as with everything, we assume they're dead, right? Like we'll never know if they came back in 3. Probably not the mom, but
here, I'll throw this in. This movie sort of infamously was a huge mess making it, and was completely, yes, we joke that every big movie you love gets changed while they're making it, but this one seemed to really lack like a lot of clarity, and there was a lot of major decisions being made on the fly. And one thing that is known is that there was an ending shot where he was going to be standing in the graveyard, Peter, and Richard Parker was going to walk up to him.
That's what I'm saying. You don't see him die. And that's the whole thing where it's like Norman Osborn all of a sudden dies off screen in this movie. And you're like, oh, that's not right. Like
the other thing they shot was Chris Cooper's head in some sort of like jar or it was like a whole, like he's coming back thing that they like had his like cryogenically frozen head thing.
Who was MJ? Shailene Woodley.
Yep.
Was cast as Mary Jane and had scenes shot where she was his neighbor, and like I guess they had like scenes where they talked to each other over the fence in the backyard, and I do agree that like that would have distracted from the Gwen of it all. But one of the things I did not remember at all about this movie is that they break up almost immediately.
Me too.
I totally forgot that.
Yep.
That was crazy. I was like, wait, what is happening? First of all, breaking my cardinal rule of eat noodles first, then break up. He just ducked out on a complete full Chinese meal in Chinatown. I was very upset about that. So he is also, okay, so Richard Parker tries to kick ass, ultimately thwarts the villain from seizing his Vio laptop, and where he's sending out his research to what we would find out later is a secret underground subway stop in New York City that's been long since abandoned, and the plane crashes. But in an alternate world, he survived. An alternate version of this movie. Then we get to Spider-Man action sequence, swinging, kind of what you want for an opening of a movie, thwipping around the city. Apparently, Peter has decided he's going to fight crime the morning of his graduation,
right? Which
is bizarre, because he's like, "What do you got for me, New York?" And I'm like, "I don't know what it's got. Your graduation. That's one thing it's got for you."
Yeah, you're right, because it's not like a emergency I can't say no to. It seems like he's looking.
He's like, "I'm just gonna go look around, see what's happening." And we've got Paul Giamatti, stellar actor, performer. Has he been nominated? Did he win? I think he was nominated for Sideways, right? Did he win for Sideways?
I think so. Maybe.
Give me the skinny on Giamatti. Anyway, doing like an absurd Russian looks stupid, sounds stupid. And like what Jamie Foxx will do in a few minutes.
Oh, weird. He was nominated for Cinderella Man, but did not win.
Okay. Yeah. Like what Jamie Foxx does with Max Dillon a few minutes later, feels like he's in a different movie. Mm-hmm. Like very cartoonish villains that nothing like anything Spider-Man faced in the first movie. All of a sudden, we've got villains that feel like they could be in Batman Returns here. Like Max Dillon has a huge.
Do you mean Batman Returns or Batman Forever?
Sorry, Forever. Like I'm talking about Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma, like type of like that aggressively. You look like you're cosplaying a nerd.
Not because I was going to say not only. I mean, I do remember that. Everyone brought up that it's like Electro's whole like deal is very Jim Carrey, Edward Nygma, as far as like feeling slighted. But yes, tonally, he also feels like Schumacher, Batman villain, when Peter and Gwen do not at all. And it is a very strange thing.
They feel like they're in different movies. And like you said, very, very Batman Forever, because it's like instead of whereas Edward Nygma in that movie was obsessed with Bruce Wayne. Yeah. Like, so he's obsessed with Spider-Man in this, and he's a nerd, fucking
such
nerd.
A nerd.
Nobody likes him.
And this Peter is not a nerd. He's a cool skater.
Yeah, he's not even a nerd.
So he's like, whatever, nerd.
So Paul Giamatti taking a role, and then, he bookends the movie by coming back in the Rhino suit, which they've decided to turn into like a mech, to make it, again, so many things can't translate as the way we want them to the screen. And this, they decided to make everything a mech, or mixed with like animal DNA, though we don't know that they used Rhino crossbreeding with Alexi.
Giamatti fucked a rhino.
He fucked a rhino, and then they shoved him into a suit, and that's why he's so mad. He basically signed on for small bits in this movie because he was going to have a larger role in 3. It's kind of like Cillian Murphy showing up in Tron Legacy because he was supposed to be the villain in the next Tron movie.
Or in the Sinister Six movie that Drew Goddard was supposed to make. After this.
There were so many different things that were supposed to spawn out of this. And not just a sequel to this, but a Sinister Six movie. And then even talks of like, a Spider-Man versus Spider-Man type of crossover adventure with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Like all these things were on the table.
I will, because I want to say that, rewatching this, like there were things I liked about it for sure. I still think it is a total mess, which is the word I use for Spider-Man 3 in a different way. It has the similar ways that there's too much going on and too many overlapping plot lines, but this movie has the specific issue of trying to set up too much because Sony very clearly after Amazing Spider-Man 1, we talked about Amazing Spider-Man 1 opens like a few weeks after Avengers, so even though it's a hit, it's dwarfed by Avengers, and Sony was like, we have all the Spider-Man characters, we can make a giant universe too. And this was the movie that was supposed to launch that, specifically the second one, because this is where they put together this whole committee with Orci and Kurtzman and all these other writers that were going to make an entire universe of Spider-Man connected stories with multiple spin-offs and sequels planned. And this movie was trying to set up all of that up.
And guess what else tried to rush into that? The DCEU.
Oh, yeah.
All these different other franchises trying to take shortcuts. Because Marvel, they played the long game and struck big with Avengers because they built up the characters in these movies going into it that other franchises couldn't afford to take the time to do at that point. Yeah. But in also skipping those steps, basically shot themselves in the foot anyway.
Yeah. So this movie is just like dripping with, it's got multiple villains, multiple storylines, and huge Sinister Six setup, and the Vulture's wings and Octopus's arms are seen. And, Felicia Hardy, played by Felicity Jones, is in this movie. And Alistair Smythe, who's going to make his BJ Novak, who's going to make the Spider Slayers, is in this movie. This movie is so jam-packed that I forgot that he does work for Jameson. They just don't show him because they didn't have something had to give.
We just get an email from him,
Right.
And whose voice do we imagine saying wrong in all caps, J.K. Simmons.
Of course,
you know,
of course.
like,
Yes. So this movie's just a crazy amount of like jam. Iron Man 2 was the one time that MCU had been accused of doing this, because it did, but not even to this extent of just like feeling like, Jesus, guys, like calm down. Just because when I'm watching the end of this movie, like you talked about, I know we're jumping around here, but it's like, it's like when Harry, because they're trying to like fit Harry in. He wasn't in the first one, so they're like, they were childhood friends,
and it feels like a retcon, and it's almost forgivable because it was like 8 years ago. It wasn't like my friend who left 4 years or 2 years ago. Like,
I just think that he should not have become the Goblin in this movie. Is the main thing. It's like because when they team up,
well, Eric, why was he dying so soon?
I know. I mean,
that was the thing. His father's like, this will be you someday. Well, someday apparently was tomorrow, because on his couch, he's already like, looks like Chris Cooper in that bed. He's just got scaly rashes all over himself from whatever that disease was called. And like,
McGregor syndrome.
Basically McGregor syndrome, whatever. the MacGuffin disease that inflicts the Osborn curse. And so, again, like, even in the third movie, he shouldn't be sick. We're to assume, okay, so Chris Cooper's character of Norman would have gotten sick. They've been working on some sort of cure for like 15 years, right?
Yeah, he worked on it with Richard Parker. Yeah.
So like Harry's still got a good, 20 years
right
before he starts showing symptoms, probably. It's not like right now, unless, that French model did something to him. Who knows? So yeah, it's the thing of like Spider-Man 3 of adding that one villain too much on top of like a whole other thing, because Peter Parker bows out during part of this movie to just research his family, and to get all that backstory. And in the end, it wasn't anything we didn't know. Right, like we kind of assumed all of that, but I guess Peter had to learn it, right?
Yeah, but also that's like the extra weight on this movie, and we talked about this with the first one of Amazing Spider-Man, is that it's just like, we don't need this, like, this was your cursed legacy, Peter, like this DNA thing that his dad, it's putting way too much of this like chosen one, like, prophecy fulfilled thing onto the everyman character that is Spider-Man, to be like, his dad had this thing and his DNA and all this stuff that they're explaining that no one was asking for. So it was just over luring it, I
guess since we're tackling the end a little bit, what did Harry inject into himself? Was the spider venom that they salvaged, and it didn't work because he wasn't in the family line?
Yeah, I think so.
But that's what it does to you. So if Parker wasn't Parker, he would have turned into that. Whatever.
He would have turned into a goblin, I guess.
It's like, oh yeah. Well, Richard should have said that in the video. He's like, it's like all non-Parkers will be goblins.
Oh God, I wish you'd said that. You're either a spider or a goblin.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to be a goblin. Oof.
And yeah, Chris Cooper, who, it's actually, even Chris Cooper is in a little more to this movie than I remembered, because I'm like, oh, he's just in one scene, but he filmed a few things with the footage with Richard Parker and whatnot, and the speeches. But yeah, his big deathbed scene where they give him like a greenish tinge. And obviously he was supposed to come back, but it's such a strange, it's like, because when Harry goes to Electro, to Max, I was like, is this gonna feel just like Spider? Because I didn't remember that much. I'm like, is it gonna be just like Spider-Man
Spider? And it kind of was a little bit
similar, but it's done better.
It is because Harry has actually been fucked around, and he's like, we've both been thrown away, and I noticed.
Right. There's an actual conversation they have. And when they go and confront Colm Feore, the MCU's Colm Feore, who played Loki's dad in the first Thor,
who's actually playing a comic book character named
Mencken,
Donald Mencken,
who is on the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series, voiced by Greg Weisman, the creator of that show. But when they go and confront him, I'm like, okay, this feels like a real partnership versus Venom and Sandman, which is like, let's kill Spider-Man and then we're never going to speak to each other again. But again, don't make Harry the Goblin in this movie. Just have him like, you can have him be more nefarious and doing all this stuff. But the fact that they have to have him in the last 10 minutes, basically.
Yeah, it was so quick. And then, add the weight of Gwen's death to this movie, which should that have been saved for 3? Should that have not have happened at all?
One of the other, I think.
Part of me wants this movie to just be Peter and Gwen going out on cutesy dates. And occasionally he has to stop a robbery or something like that. So he stops Paul Giamatti from stealing plutonium. Paul Giamatti's ridiculous. He's got silly underwear, Eric.
Yes, he does.
I couldn't make out what was on it. I couldn't see if they were Pokeballs or something. I don't know
what the hell they were. Yeah.
And then he makes it to his graduation where Gwen as valedictorian is giving the type of speech that foreshadows your death.
It's so funny when they do this.
I am so glad, Eric, that when I was valedictorian and gave a speech, I did not say anything that would prophesize my doom.
Yeah.
So then they see everything seems great, but he's seeing, and Dennis Leary popped in here and there for a ghostly cameo. He's seeing visions of Captain Stacy. So it's weird to start it with that, where like the whole end of that movie, I don't know. He basically broke his promise at the end of the movie, and now he's feeling bad about it.
And he and Gwen are talking openly about it. She fully
they're communicating.
She knows about the promise and all that. Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't feel like it. It felt like they were so happy, and then he saw the Captain Stacy one more time, and then he refused to eat noodles with the family. Granted, she wound up dying, and he did see Captain Stacy right before the end too. So it's not like the captain's words were unwise. In the realm of Spider-Man.
I wanted to mention, by the way, I didn't mention him last week but since he came back in this movie with zero dialogue, that Gwen's siblings, one of them is Skylar Gisondo, who I know best has the older brother in Vacation 2015, which I think is a very underrated movie. But he's in a bunch of stuff. He was in Santa Clarita Diet, and he has a very funny role in Licorice Pizza. But he is a silent Stacy sibling.
I just call them the Branzino bunch.
Sure.
And so then, he breaks up with her. But actually, to be clear, she broke up with him because she wanted to make that clear to him.
She does say that.
And then, so then we're 10 minutes in the movie. Campbell Scott's had his one and only fight scene in his entire acting history. Paul Giamatti had Pokeball underwear, and then they've broken up. Like, that's the whole thing. But again, they're friends for the middle of the movie, and then they profess that they finally get back together right before she dies. They're the strongest parts of this movie, and a few scenes with Aunt May here and there.
There's one, there's one.
The "You're My Boy" scene
made me tear up. Yeah, I did not expect that.
The only thing I wish it did not have in there was when he's like, "I'm your boy," when he says that to her, and it's so great. And then he says, "Don't get it twisted," and I'm like, "Oh, God." Vernacular of the time. Why do you have to be in like a sentimental scene like that?
That didn't bother me.
Anyway, break up. He didn't eat noodles. I was mad.
What references could he have made?
I don't know. It was lit, fam. People don't say that anymore. There's an ongoing debate on, I guess, talk radio about Spider-Man, and stinks, wackadoo. I don't know. People don't like him, and some people do. Max calls in, but then very quickly. And so after breaking up, Peter sort of buries himself in his work, meaning he's Spider-Man. So he's Spider-Man all the time, just saving people left and right, even when he's sick Spider-Man, getting some cough syrup. Stopping people from getting their store robbed. And Max calls in defending Spider-Man, says they became best friends. So Max has, is mentally ill, but then we see his crazy lair.
Yep.
Again, it all feels like not of this grounded world.
Right. It feels so out of whack, even with the first Amazing Spider-Man, like it would, yeah.
And like talking to himself and imagining Spider-Man's like made him a cake and he pulls it out of the fridge and stuff like that. I don't know. I just feel like there was a way to still make this funny, but not make it feel so completely heightened to the point where it takes you out of the movie. We learned that he's actually Peter is selling shots to the Bugle. We mentioned that Jameson's only mentioned, but then May mentions Peter's in college, right?
Yeah.
When's he doing that?
Right. We see no evidence that he's going to school, but we are told he is. So again, too much happening in this movie, so we can't actually represent him. Like we never see him step foot in the Bugle. We never see him step foot in a class. We just have to believe these things are happening.
We learned that Oscorp Tower. So Gwen's still working there, doing stuff, even after her internship with Dr. Connors. Apparently, I don't know. Like she was able to sort of sideways maneuver into some other department.
Well, look, don't forget she was his head intern as a high school
I'd say, student. But like I feel like if you scrap everything that guy was doing and all the animal genetic crossover shit, she still found a new place there. But also that Oscorp Tower is responsible for the entire city's energy. So all 5 boroughs of New York City's energy, which was funny to me when BJ Novak's evil, Smythe character?
Alistair Smythe, yeah.
Makes him stay late on his birthday. And everyone goes home. And then even the guy he calls for help is like, no, I'm clocking out. I'm like, who clock?
They have to have a nighttime shift.
I'm like, how do you clock out of the entire city's power grid?
Right.
No one's working unless it was Max to fix something. Okay. Then it's a weird thing because Max is like Spidey fan number 1. The transition to wanting to kill Spider-Man was weird. I guess. Yeah. But then also when he gets shocked, he falls into a pool of eels.
It is again 4 movies out of 5. I'm obviously including the Raimi movies here. Oscorp, you will become a supervillain. I mean, that's a thing. Spectacular Spider-Man does it too. But
yeah, it's always a thing. But basically, like I thought they scrapped all their animals, but they have these electric eels. So he turns in. They completely change him. It's kind of cool transformation. He was like crusted into this shell where his old skins and clothing sort of broke away, and he's got like blue eely skin. And when he goes out into Times Square, and it's the sympathetic Frankenstein type story where it's like he doesn't know what's happening, he doesn't want to hurt people, he's just walking around, he had yet to see what he looks like. The Times Square sequence has a lot of things I like about it. It's a very good Spider-Man sequence as far as Peter trying to diffuse the situation. Yeah, talking to him and like remembering it's Max and stuff like that.
And like Garfield's really good about like how he's like when he's like, sorry, I don't remember your name, and he's like, you don't remember your name, my name, Max. He's like, it's Max, right? Like trying to like act like you remembered it.
And Garfield's always great when it's like, I hate Mondays, and look at that juicy lasagna.
Thermal sucks.
I don't think that so there's parts of the Electro story that work. I don't think they ever I ever got a handle on how powerful this dude is or what his full powers were. If you just know Electro from the classic comics, it's like, why is he floating through the air like a ghost and can turn invisible? And why can he go into a circuit like Horace Pinker? Right. Stuff like that.
And speaking of powers, there's a lot of things I like about that. They're confronting, like before everything goes crazy. Then it's a little weird because power levels are all over the place. The part where Peter saves all the people on the stairs almost crosses a line because it seems like he's Quicksilver. Like it's like the slow-mo stuff, and like it feels like it's like Quicksilver saving everyone because he's moving so much faster than they are. I'm like,
and I understand that's part of being Spider-Man, but like fast enough to stop someone's pinky from touching a railing, like
And a lot
but
of
like
people,
to notice that,
that many people at that in the same amount of time seems a little
Yeah.
overdone for what Spider-Man can do.
And so all this is happening. And then we've, actually before Times Square, I think is when Harry shows up, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Harry comes in, into the second act of this movie. And yeah, so it just right there, adding a new character who's very meaningful to Peter in his past. And I get that it's easier because everything's still centered at Oscorp because Gwen still works there.
And frankly, they're getting a lot of mileage off the fact that we all know Harry Osborn from 3 other movies that were very recent,
those movies do more heavy lifting for this than they benefit. This movie benefits from them for sure because he comes in and he and Peter have like an afternoon in the park, which was the name of a movie I was in when I was a little kid, a student film. They have an afternoon together where they just sort of like, yeah, you don't have braces anymore. Hey, fuck you, and skip rocks. And that was sort of the extent of their bonding. And that makes sense if you actually are catching up with somebody who you last saw when you were 10, right? Like that's fine. It's just that's all the dynamic they're going to have as old friends in this movie. And then we go, because Harry is like insta sick, he goes into like, I need blood. I need Spidey blood.
And we get, by the way, speaking of the overpowering of characters, it's so strange to me that he's like, the secret to all this is going to be Spider-Man because Spider-Man can self-heal. I'm like, wait, what? Like Spider-Man has Wolverine powers? Like that's a new twist.
So the thing is like, I assume he does self-heal, but it's not like Wolverine. It's not like you cut your hand and it seals up. I just mean like he heals faster than a normal person.
It just seems weird.
It does seem weird. It seems forced. But does that specifically also mean like maybe, and I don't know, this has never been touched on. He gets beat up and his ribs can get broken and stuff like that. And he bleeds, but maybe he doesn't get cancer. We don't know like that the extent of what self-healing they're talking about, but even still it's a stretch, as it is a stretch that like he uses the Goblin, the Spidey venom to save himself, and instead of like Goblin serum or whatever it was normally. Let's see, I don't even know where we are in the movie because I kind of leaped ahead to the Times Square thing, but it's in Times Square though that Peter and Gwen were actually having a sort of a hey, let's be friends, but it was very quickly turning into a date where they maybe were going to kiss. Then Max is in Times Square, and this is the moment where Max decides that Spider-Man's his enemy, and I didn't really quite catch the transition. I know that like the SWAT team guy shot him, and so he's like Spider-Man, but like I don't know. I guess he's just an idiot.
Right.
I guess is that the takeaway?
That's your big takeaway.
Max is a moron and like he can't figure out that like the guy trying to help him is completely separate from the other guy, and that Spider-Man doesn't control the police. Like as a Spider-Man fanatic, wouldn't he understand that Spider-Man is outside of the law?
Right. You would think so, but
whatever. Then Peter learns that Gwen is trying to go to England for some Oxford type studying thing, and he gets
not an Oxford type. It's Oxford,
but Oxford is an Oxford type.
That's true.
Let's see. And so once again, like when he broke up with her, or she broke up with him at the beginning, he buries himself in something. In this case, it is his crazy Always Sunny in Philadelphia conspiracy board involving his father. Set to a very, I looked up the name of the band. It wasn't anything I recognized. Phillips, not Wilson Phillips, but it's a very sort of bouncy Mumford and Sons type music that takes up a big portion of this.
By the way, the Oxford stuff also gives you the mileage of a British actor playing American, being making silly fun of British people and the their Britishisms when he in fact is British in real life, Matt. When he's like, my lady, and like all his like fake stuff to the woman at the
Pip pip cheerio,
Oxford.
governor.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's how he really talks, Matt.
Yeah, I know, but like maybe he hates it.
Maybe he does.
Let's see. Man, yeah. Where do we even go after this? Harry. So then it goes into the whole, then it very much echoes the other Spider-Man movies where Harry, because he knows Peter takes pictures of Spider-Man, is like, get me Spider-Man.
Right.
It's the circumstances and context are different, but it's still like the same thread. Excuse me here. And all of a sudden they have a bigger falling out. Peter even shows up as Spider-Man and being like, hey, I can't give you my plan. That's a weird scene.
Right. Sorry,
it's a weird scene.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish he had said, I can't. You could turn into a goblin.
All right. There's like a 90% chance you're going to become a goblin. So sorry, dude.
I'm willing to take that chance. The goblin chance.
Take the goblin challenge.
Oh, that's what all the TikTokers are doing.
The goblin challenge is sweeping the nation.
Meanwhile, Gwen is like doing her research on Max. And when did I miss that? Okay. Remind me of what Ravencroft is. Does Oscorp own Ravencroft, or is that just the prison that Electro wound up in and they have access to it?
That I'm not clear about. I
was just like, how are they experimenting on Electro? How did they get their hands on it?
Right, because wouldn't he just be a prisoner of the government? And why would Oscorp have this direct involvement?
So I felt like I missed a scene somewhere, but I didn't feel like thinking about it any harder than that.
I forgot that I forgot a lot of this movie. So I forgot that Ravencroft was even in this movie, which is kind of the Spider-Man version of Arkham. It's where Carnage was locked up in the comics. The Doctor, who's a creepy doctor, is a gender-flipped version of Dr. Kafka, who's a way less evil character in the comic book.
I was going to say, this is another heightened character. Somebody playing like the Blue Danube Waltz while like having like mad scientist gloves to the elbows, but obviously dealing with electricity you would, but the rubber gloves, but just a very pronounced German accent, and felt really weird and out there, and also felt like a strange character to introduce, again, from the comics, sure, but like a lot of screen time for somebody who doesn't amount to anything and just sort of like is there to have a scene and sort of overacted a bit. I don't know. It was odd.
It was. And so I forgot Ravencroft was in this movie. And so I was like, oh, Ravencroft, because Ravencroft is in Venom, There Will Be Carnage. So I forgot that we'd already seen a version of Ravencroft. The one in There Will Be Carnage is even more like, it's very Arkham-y. That movie is the whole movie is heightened. So it's, playing into that with Carnage being there.
And then we've got Mencken turning the table on Harry and kicking him out, framing him for whatever they're doing at Ravencroft. Again, don't know how that whole situation got set up.
Right.
But he framed Harry for it. That was enough to somehow get Harry kicked off of everything. That seemed weird. I don't know how that worked. But because it also all happened very quickly.
There's all battle for Oscorp with Mencken wanting to force Harry out because Harry, is a 20-year-old who's just been given control of the company.
And then, but then he frees Electro, and then Felicia gives him the idea to use the leftover venom that they actually saved from the spiders that they ditched.
And again, Felicia being the Black Cat in the comics, 10 million things being set up here at the same time. Yeah.
And then he releases Electro, and Electro blacks out the city. And again, how powerful is Electro? Because Electro seems like a god at this point. Like the face appears in the Oscorp building, and that building is like sending lightning bolts. It's like a kaiju attack on the city, sending lightning bolt explosions all over. And so, and then apparently all Peter needed to do to battle such a hugely powerful opponent is to magnetize his web slingers, which is a fun moment. Anything between Peter and Gwen, I'm in for.
Yeah.
But again, you never get the idea of like they just basically. I'm not trying to like actually dive into is the way he defeats Elektra in the end like real. Like I'm just like, oh, science. Like I'll just take everyone's word for it, and like they overloaded him, and I can repair the conductors and the circuits, and you do the flip the switch, and so we understand it enough. And the action in this movie is not bad. Like the effects the hold up, and the action. And I
appreciate that it's very colorful. You can tell that they wanted to, like, I think that there was some criticism of the first one being a little dreary looking, so they make it very bright. Also, I mentioned this last week, but his costume's so great. It's like the most comics accurate costume we've had in any movie.
And the big eyes are great.
It looks very Mark Bagley, who is the artist who did Ultimate Spider-Man, and if you look at his art, it seems very based off that. Looks excellent. It's fun and colorful looking, and I don't think there's like an action sequence that I'm like, that's amazing standout, but they're all fun. They're good. They move. Gwen it's interesting, like, once, like, she did this in the first one. So once again, she's very much his partner in helping. They again, there's so much telegraphing of her death. She makes that speech. And then also she has that big moment where he wants her to leave so she won't be in danger. And she's very much like, it's my choice to stay here, which also is going to like take the burden off him feeling, he'll feel guilty that she died. But by her saying that, it can't be like, I did everything to save her, because it's her literally saying, I am staying here. I know I'm putting my life in danger. So it's okay, audience.
I know. He didn't do everything though, because he didn't stay broken up with her.
That's true.
Speaking of the first movie seeming dreary, notice how this first movie started. Look at Spider-Man swinging on buildings, not needing any cranes lined up, just whipping on skyscrapers left and right, like as if that's what he normally does, instead
flipping
of having
on skyscapers left and right. Sounds like a good song here.
Flipping on skyscrapers outside the taste of freeze. But yeah, he didn't need anything lined up for him. So okay, Electro fight, Electro defeated. Goblin shows up. The final few minutes, like really, like it's not even like the Goblin, and maybe I do appreciate that he didn't have to fight Goblin and Electro at once, but it did also seem silly that he like rolls in right after, and in that moment sees Gwen and just pieces together, oh, you're Peter. They tease Gwen falling quite a bit before they have her fall for real. I do like that she died by actually kind of hitting the ground instead of the comic book more hard to portray on screen, just neck snap of the tension of the web, like catching taut, you know what I mean?
Right. And it's
a very sad scene when he's mourning her, like when he realizes she's dead. Like
it's very, it's a great scene that obviously has a lot of weight because we were invested in them as a couple. They very directly reference the comic, even though it's not a bridge. Which probably was a concession because the Mary Jane was thrown off a bridge in the first Raimi movie. But which was already a reference to the Gwen death, but they dress her extremely similarly to how she was dressed in the comic when she died. And the visual, even though she's not like mid-air when the web catches her and when she hits the ground, it's all very like they were looking at the panels, how she's dressed, the pose of her,
and they had the effects of the web when it was going down look like a hand, almost like trying to reach her, playing a little metaphorically there with the webbing as an extension of Peter himself. So she died, and that's just a huge bummer. And look, I'm all for deaths that make you feel super sad, but for the franchise, it's a bummer to lose Emma Stone because she and Andrew Garfield play so well together. I understand that, and usually probably whatever incarnation we're going to see of Spider-Man, I don't know. It's one of those like Gwen is fated to die, always die, no matter what, maybe. But unless you're talking about Spider-Man 3, in which the last we ever see of Gwen is she leaves the jazz room upset.
I think it's just, again, I would never be one to say like, don't kill this character because we love her. But I think it's coupled with the fact that it's done with Harry becoming the Goblin for a few minutes at the end that makes it feel like, like this wasn't the time. Harry shouldn't have put that suit on in this movie.
And
anyway.
if so, it felt rushed. It felt rushed for him, and so because of that, it felt unworthy for her. So yeah.
Right.
Then we get Spider-Man sad for like 5 months. We learned that there's been no Spider-Man. We see the seasons pass as Peter's at Gwen's grave. The Stacy family has lost so many in such a short amount of time. And then we get I guess the mystery man character is named now Mr. Frears, meeting with Harry in prison or Ravencroft, and they're setting up a gang, something small, and so we
how many? Woo!
I don't know 5 or 6 or 7, probably 6 though.
Right in the middle there. Yeah, right in the middle. Yeah, 6 is a good number.
We see vulture wings, the octopus arms, which we saw.
Yeah, we glimpsed them earlier, but now we really get a good look at them to be like, this is what they are, folks.
I'm wondering, because the whole purpose was like, hey, what if we mix animals DNA with people, and what kind of abilities could they have? But then they build these like animal suits, so it's like they're not really going to put whatever candidate was going to go into the octopus tentacles. Let's talk about this hypothetical Otto Octavius. They're just going to be, they're not giving him octopus DNA. They're just like, hey, you're an octopus now. Isn't this silly? And like, so like, why build a rhino costume? Like, what does that do? If they're not giving Alexei some sort of ability that comes with rhinos. I don't know. It's just, it's a silly costume to make. I understand wings, like vulture wings. Hey, you can fly, you get your wing guy. But, a full rhino costume that also comes with machine guns, by the way. So that's a new part of Rhino. But we get earlier in the movie, there was a kid that Peter saved from bullies wrecking his wind turbine science fair project or whatever it was. So this kid shows up again in the end. We can call him like Henry Jackson 2.0. The kid who brings Spider-Man back from the brink. Henry Jackson and his damn wind blowing turbine project. And this kid, Spider-Man's gone. So who's going to stand up to silly Paul Giamatti in the rhino costume? It's this little kid. I don't mind the scene. I like it. I like the kid standing out there with the, fortunately, this happens to also be the time Spider-Man chose to return. Could have gone pretty badly otherwise.
Right. Rhino just kills that kid.
It's like, oh no, that was a terrible idea.
And the title comes up.
And then we get and very interesting way to end any of these movies, honestly, is like a freeze frame. They're about to fight moment. And I remember watching this in the theater, this moment, I was like, wow, is this movie ever going to end? Like, I didn't know it was going to happen. And then I was like, oh, it's going to end like that. Okay.
Right. And interestingly, given we are already now so far into the MCU that the first Amazing Spider-Man felt the need to do a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene. This one doesn't. But again, I think that's because so much was being changed in the moment, because like I said, they cut 2 major things were shot, which was the Norman Osborn head and Richard Parker's return that were not used. One of those could have been a credit scene, or both of them could have been credit scenes. So, but neither ended up in the film.
All right.
It was just like, it is weird that no closure on any of this. This movie wasn't a bomb, but it made the least amount of any of them. Clearly there was just a lack of enthusiasm. Everyone felt the jumbled nature of it. The MCU at this point is now just kicking ass, and these movies just feeling the dust of that. But it is crazy to think, like, right before this movie opened, because we were writing articles about it, IGN was like, oh, all these, they're talking about a Venom movie at the time, Sinister Six, Amazing 3, all this stuff. Drew Goddard, who I feel bad because Drew Goddard is a great writer, and was supposed to make Sinister Six, and then he's supposed to make X-Force for Fox. And every time there's like huge overhaul of the entire plan, or even who's owning the studio, and he doesn't get to make his goddamn superhero or villain team up movie one day. He just has to work for Marvel Studios, clearly. But yeah, it's just strange that they like this movie again. This movie was not a disastrous bomb, but the fact that it still is what caused them to say, okay, let's make a deal with Marvel Studios is fascinating, because it directly.
And I remember all of us at the time were like, because the MCU was, on fire at this point, and we were just like, oh, it sucks that Spider-Man can't be a part of it, leading into this movie.
Yep.
Because it was its own thing, and it was like, oh, we just have to live with no X-Men, no Spider-Man, no any, the things we were used to, and that was just going to have to be good enough for us, Eric. But guess what? It wasn't.
Yeah. This was a crazy year because we're in 2014, and so this is the year, right, of Guardians of the Galaxy and the Winter Soldier. So it's really like, a stellar year for the MCU. It's also the year of Days of Future Past. So the biggest hit X-Men movie yet, and it makes a little more than Amazing 2. And so that's even notable. Like an X-Men movie beating a Spider-Man movie hadn't happened yet. And it would be a peak for X-Men. It would be downhill for them from there. But yeah, the fact that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 just seemed like such an also-ran, not just to the MCU, but even to the resurgence of X-Men at this exact point. It caused everything to change.
For the better. But now we're going to see how this wraps up. Going into how these characters may return in No Way Home, and what kind of closure that might give us for this
this Electro
cut short franchise.
It's so interesting because it's like Electro in this movie, and I've even seen people talk about it because of course he looks like Jamie Foxx. He's wearing a costume more inspired by the comic book, but it's still kind of this industrial look. But even the fact that it's yellow electricity, it's not blue, but people are like, well, if you watch the end of Amazing 2, he does start to have some yellow electricity coming into him at the end there. Like Dr. Octopus, there's a weird little wiggle room to say he didn't die. Like, did he go somewhere? So we will find out if it's like, literally going to be like the last thing I remember.
But I mean, also specifically, whatever is going to happen with MJ falling from this Statue of Liberty, and how this movie overlaps with that, and however they work it, I'm really looking forward to. I want to see what they do. I want to see what happens, Eric.
And in just about 2.5 weeks, you get to.
God damn it, it's too long. I could die. All right,
don't.
All right, good advice. I'll actually take it. All right. Next week will be Scream, everybody. Scream. And until then, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shockma.